All right, so this is section 4.3. We did, the last thing we did was congruent what? What do we call it? Oh, I should have put this on here. I'll do it now. Yeah, it was called congruent figures, right? But this one is called congruence postulates. We'll talk about that here in a second. As soon as I do this, I should have had this ready. Sorry about that. Okay, and so we call this congruence postulates. So what we're going to do is we're just going to concentrate on triangles. It doesn't say it in that name right there, but that's what we're doing. We're finding congruent triangles. We kind of did that with the figures thing. Okay, we talked about like an octagon being congruent or a hexagon being congruent, but then we narrowed it down pretty quick in the last lesson. Oops, I'm going to put my microphone on. This would be better. It's Monday. Give me a break. So anyway, we narrowed it down to triangles. Now let's do this. Let's draw. Tell you what, I got some triangles over here. Let me just grab a triangle. We'll just grab this nice triangle right there. Copy that. Oops. We'll scooch this over. We'll keep that right there. Okay. So there's a triangle. Let's make it just a little bit bigger so I can write on it. Maybe make it not quite so skinny. Like that. There we go. There's a nice triangle. Let's copy and paste that. So if I copied and pasted it, what's true about these two triangles now? Yeah, let's not say the same. What word we've been using? Congruent. Right, the word's right there. Okay, they're congruent to each other. All right. Now, what did we have to know up to this point in order to say that they were congruent to each other? All the sides, yeah, all the corresponding sides had to equal, correct? And all the corresponding what? Angles. So up to this point, now watch, this is very important. Up to this point, what did we have to show in order to say that they were congruent to each other? Well, I had to show that A and D were equal, correct? And I had to show that what? B and C? B and E were equal to each other, and what else? And angle C and angle what? F were equal to each other. Okay, was that enough? No, it wasn't enough. All right, and I could show you why it's not enough, but I'm not going to right now. So you showed all three angles, but then you got to show all three what? All three sides equal to each other. So I would have to know that this side and this side were equal. I'd have to know that this side right here and this side right here were equal. And I'd also have to know that this side and this side were equal. If I knew all six of those things, everybody see that? If I knew that all six of those things were true, then what could I say about these triangles? Then I could say that they're congruent, right? So I could say that triangle, what? ABC is congruent to triangle, what? DEF. Again, make sure that you match up the letters. So this would be DEF. Not just because it's in alphabetical order. Does it have to be in alphabetical order? No. Okay, but the corresponding parts have to match up. Did the A and the D, see this A is first and the D is first? Are they equal? Yep. What about the B and the E? Are they equal? Yep. What about the C and the F? Are they equal? Yes, they are. Okay. And also, A, B, and D, E are equal. See that? A, B are the first two, D, E are the first two. B, C, and E, F are the second two. They're equal to each other right here. And then AC is bottom one, and DF, they're equal to each other. So, up to this point, listen carefully. Okay? Anybody taking notes? Vinny, taking notes? You're sleeping and you got nothing on your desk. All right? It's 2 strikes. In order to show, up to this point, that these triangles were congruent, you had to show 6 things. Everybody see that? And I marked them on these triangles. But now, we're going to learn something where you don't have to show all 6 things. All right? We only need to show 3 things that are true about one triangle compared to the other. I'm not going to go through, well, you can't do a proof for these anyway because this is a postulate. I don't know if you remember the beginning of the year. Do you remember the difference between a theorem and a postulate? A theorem is something that you can do what to? Starts with a P. You can prove it. Okay? You can prove a theorem. You cannot prove a postulate. A postulate is just something that's accepted as fact. Everybody hear me on that? Okay, so this is just something that you accept as fact. All right, so I'm not really going to try to prove this. I'm just going to show you how it works. And this is kind of nice. You're going to see a lot of this on the quizzes and tests on this chapter, okay? This is the very beginning of, I don't know, half of the test maybe a little bit more. I don't know. I don't have a test in front of me. But quite a bit of the test is going to be this kind of stuff right here. All right, so watch this. I'm going to put those same two triangles. Let's just change the shape just a little bit. Yeah, let's change it like that. All right, copy and paste that. Now, I did copy and paste, so you know that they're congruent to each other. But the way they sit right now, again, I'll go A, B, C, and D, E, F. Might as well. We'll stay easy. D, E, F. Okay? Now, right now, the way they sit, just by the information, okay, now you didn't know I copied and pasted, all right? Pretend you didn't know I copied and pasted. Can you just say these triangles are congruent right now? No, because I'd have to show 6 different things, wouldn't I, in order to show that they're congruent to each other. But now, with these congruence postulates, we have 2 postulates, 2 things that are accepted as fact you don't have to prove. So I'm just going to show you what's going on here. So watch this. If I showed you just one angle, this angle and the corresponding angle, all right? So these are the 2 angles that correspond to each other. If I took this triangle, picked it up, put it right on top of this triangle, the A and the D would match up, wouldn't they? All right? So if I showed that and I showed this side and this side are equal, that's still not enough to say that they're congruent. But watch this. If I show this side and this side equal, that's all I need in order to say that these triangles are congruent to each other. That's it. I don't have to show the other 2 angles. I don't have to show the other sides equal to each other. All I got to do is show that this side, this angle, and this side is equal to this side, this angle, and this side. That's all I got to do, all right, in order to say that the triangles are congruent. And we have a name for this. Everybody watching? We call this the side, put a little dash in between, angle, side, and this is a postulate. I'll just put P-O-S-T, is that all right? But the word is postulate. So this is called the side angle side postulate. Notice where the angle is compared to the sides. Where is this angle? Ben, step outside, please. I can't take this anymore. You're not paying attention anyway, so it's not going to make any difference. So step outside. 5 minutes and I'll bring it back in. Oh, I just can't take it. All right, so look where the angle is. The angle is in between those 2 sides. Look at this picture right here. Is this angle in between these 2 sides? Is this angle between these 2 sides? Yes. So I call this side, what? Angle, side postulate. We can shorten it. Okay, if you don't want to write all that out, we can shorten it when you write it down, but we don't call it SAS, okay? And we don't call it SAS. What do we call it? Side, angle, side, what? Postulate, okay? This is the way we say it. This is the way we write it down, okay? So when I write SAS, I'm not saying SAS. So if I ask you for a reason, give me a reason why these triangles are congruent to each other, you would tell me they are congruent because of what? The side, angle, side postulate. That's right. If I ask you to write it down and give me a reason on a quiz or a test, what would you write? You would write just SAS and capitalize them both. Don't make them lowercase. Okay? Everybody got it? I put that in quotations because this is how we say it. We say it like this. And what do we do here? We what? We write it like this. Everybody good? Okay. Again, it's very important. The angle must be between the 2 sides. All right? What if I gave you this? What if I said this angle was equal to this angle? Are we able to tell that those triangles are congruent now because of side, angle, side? No. I mean, I got a side, I got an angle, and I got a side, but look at that angle. Where is it not? It's not between those two sides, okay? Everybody got it? So it's very important that you understand that if you're going to use side angle side, the angle has to be between those two sides. So that means these triangles are going to be congruent. So the question's going to be, here's a question that's going to be on a quiz and a test. It's going to say, write the congruent statement, and then I think it says give a reason or something like that. I forget exactly how I word it, but I'll say something like give a reason why they are congruent, okay, or justify your answer. Maybe I say that. I don't know. I'd have to look at the quiz. I can't remember exactly what I say, all right? So it's a two-parter. I'm going to ask you to write a congruence statement. What would the congruent statement be? Triangle what? What am I going to call this? Okay, let's call it triangle ABC. Now, do I have to call it ABC? No, I could call it BAC or CBA or ACB. It doesn't matter. But depending on what I call that first triangle, that second triangle absolutely has to match up. So which one matches up with the A over here? The D. All right, which one matches up with the B? The E. And then which one matches up with the C? The F. All right, so this is your congruence statement. All right, maybe write that down somewhere on there. This is a congruent statement. I'm going to ask you that on a quiz and a test. I'm going to give you this situation. I'm going to tell you that these angles are equal, these sides are equal, and I'm going to ask you, write a congruent statement why that these triangles are congruent to each other. So this would be your congruent statement. What would be your reason? Justify why they're congruent. What's your reason? Because of side angle side. And how do we write it? Just SAS. But we say side angle side, but you can just write down SAS. And so this would be your congruent statement, and this would be your reason, okay, why these two triangles, I put equals if I got the little squiggle. Okay, this would be why they are congruent to each other. You still got 2 more minutes. Huh? Give me 2 more minutes. Yeah, go. Or you can go to the office. I'll write you a pass to the office. Would you like that? It's probably warmer in there. You want to go to the office? So I'm going to write you up. You know that, right? So you're going to get either a demerit or an SA, or after, what do you call it? ASD? Yeah. You're willing to take that for just standing out there for 2 minutes? Are you serious? You got to be kidding. That's ridiculous. I'll give you one more chance. I'm about to call Miss Schrader. Tell her you're coming down. You're willing to get an ASD. You're willing to get an ASD. You even have a fleece on you. 2 minutes. Go. My word. I don't get it. All right. Let's do one more. I got 5 minutes left in this class, so let's do another one. All right, are we okay with this? Side angle side. So if these triangles are congruent, tell me something about angle B and E then. Now, they don't tell you that they're equal to each other, but now that you know that they're congruent, what do you think might be true about B and E? Yeah, they got to be equal, because if these triangles are congruent, now I can take this triangle, put it right on top of here, and everything matches up, doesn't it? So that must mean that B and E must match up to each other, even though they didn't tell us in the first place that B and E were equal to each other. If you know that the triangles are congruent, then B and E must be equal. What other angles must be equal to each other then? Yeah, C and F. So C and F must be equal to each other as well. Okay? And then what else? What do I know about BC then? BC must be what? Equal to EF. Okay? So if I know that the triangles are congruent to each other, right, because of side angle side, all the other stuff, all the other corresponding parts must equal each other as well. You get it? So the red stuff is the stuff that they told us at the beginning, right? So looking at that, I'm like, oh, I got a side, I got an angle, and I got another side. And that angle is in between, so these triangles must be congruent. Why? Because of side angle side. So if those three things are equal, then these other things must be equal as well, or congruent. Okay, B and E must be equal, C and F must be equal, and B, C, and EF must be equal. Everybody with me on that? Okay. All right, let's do one more. We got one more of these postulates, and that's it. All right, so let's just make this, let's make it look like that, just to make it look different, just to show that. And let's go different letters. Let's go PQR this time. Kind of tired of ABC, aren't you? Let's call this XYZ. All right, so here we go. Do I know these triangles are congruent right now the way it's written? No, they didn't tell me anything, right? So I don't know. All right, Chris, go tell Benny to come in now. All right, so what if they told you this? What if they told you that this angle is equal to that? Is that enough to say that those triangles are congruent? No. But what if they told you this? Now this time they give you two angles, and they give you a side that's in between the two angles. Again, this is another congruence postulate. It doesn't have to be proven. It's just accepted. It's just accepted as fact. That if I was given this information right here, now I can say that these triangles are congruent to each other. Okay, what do you think would be the reason? We did side angle side before, right? You got it. This is going to be angle side angle. And notice where the side is. The side is where? It's not just any random side. It's what? It's the side that's in between the two angles. Everybody see that? So I can call this what? Side. Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. Angle, side, angle. All right? So this is angle, side, angle. All right? So let's write a congruent statement. So these two triangles are congruent. What do you want to call this one? RQP. All right? RQP. So watch. If I go R, then Q, then P, what am I going to have to do over here? Z, Y, and X. Z, Y, and X. That's your congruent statement. Again, on a quiz and a test, I'm going to ask you two things. I'm going to ask you for the congruent statement, and then I'm going to ask you to give me a reason. Okay, justify why. Again, I forget. I wish I had a quiz in front of me, but tell me why these triangles are congruent to each other. What would your reason be? That's it. Angle, side, angle. That's why these two triangles are congruent to each other. Now, since I know those triangles are congruent to each other, what else do you think I could say about the triangles, about the other corresponding parts? What do you think I could say about angle Q? It's got to equal angle Y. What do you think I could say about side PQ? XY, that's right. And what do you think I could say about QR? YZ. All right? Now, they didn't tell me those yellow ones to begin with, did they? They just told me the red stuff. But I could figure out that other stuff must be true as well. All right, so we finished. So this is section 4.3. Oh, by the way, almost forgot. I didn't give you a lesson plan today because they told us to start conserving paper. So I'm not going to make those anymore. Yes, conserving. So here, let me do this. What I'm going to let you do, listen. What I'm going to let you do is take a picture. There you go. So take a picture before you leave, all right? And that's your lesson plan. It's on RenWeb as well, okay? So you can always go to RenWeb. If you don't want to take a picture of that, you can always go to RenWeb. But there it is. So it's section 4.3. We're doing 1 to 15 and 20 to 23. If you're watching this on YouTube, you won't be able to see that.
I'm pretty sure I forgot to take the bristles off my homework.
Do it. Oh, wait. Put it in here. Let me shut this off.